next reader is Julie Choffel. A native Austinite, Julie Choffel is author of The Hello Delay, winner of the Poets Out Loud Prize. She is a graduate of the University of Massachusetts Amherst MFA program for poets and writers and currently teaches creative writing at the University of Connecticut. Please welcome Julie.
Y'all, and I wanted to thank Juan and Dill for inviting me to read with you guys tonight. This is such a lovely space. It's my first visit to this bookstore, and it's just wonderful. So I'm going to start off with reading a little bit from my book, The Hello Delay. I had a few poems picked out, and then hearing what y'all chose to read, I changed my mind. I decided, okay, I have to read something that sort of gives homage to being here as well. So some of this book was written when I was living in California, in the Bay Area a few years ago, but I grew up in Austin, and I feel like no matter where I go, I live in Connecticut now mostly, but I feel like wherever I go, I'm plagued by this terrible homesickness, and I kind of chalk it up to being from this wonderful place, and also my whole family's here and everything, but I don't know, I mean, even in the Bay Area, everybody thought that was like the greatest place on the whole planet. Like everyone I hung out with there was like, why would you ever leave the Bay Area? And I was just like, it's not good enough. I don't know, it's not, and so I was writing poems like this while I was there that were sort of about like, so much about this place. And so this is a poem that's sort of, I hope you don't mind, it's sort of a longer piece for reading, but it's called Plant Life, and it's very much about space and time and song. Plant life. Gestalt of a flowering reminds me, taken aback, by the cochineal or wavery oat. My oar is in the water, also that plant life. Who else? Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. An outcrop, a cropping, a crow, and we're clapping, and maybe we're making what we desire. Are you that marathon? Plant life runs up to me, wish, swish, wish. There's a story and a girl herbalist. She goes for the one she knows. She knows them all differently, which makes it more complicated than the story. Fountains of pattern, the birds are up and down. We keep going if it seems familiar. The mallow opens its vases. We kneel in the bedtime evening. The wildflowers are wilder than us. Nobody knows if nothingness has a form, but should it come, would we each know it, or would it be our lack of knowledge? Take shelter in plant life. La, la, la. This is not what it was supposed to. Put the sun away. We think the words that intend us, all brides to be, and jacks in the pulpit. Glory and hallelujah. Ha, 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 ha. The plant life breathes like karate into all my old nudges. Kiln builder, press forger, silkworm grower, scene maker, associating facts with pleasure. The fern grows like a tree, except when stunted, and then it all grows, all come what may. Do you have a favorite? Yes. Is there time for you to say it? No. Will the plant life wait for us? Always. Maybe. Heltery-skeltery comes a tripping. Here's coxcomb, brainflower, and alpine dwarves, winter incubators. Weather's containment could pluralize us too, like life, life, life in a fallout shelter. Without us, plant life absorbs all the foggy days, takes back the sidewalks. 1, 2, skip to my loo. 3, 4, memory fails the important phrases. The brushy creeks, hollow trails, scrappy oaks, and filler life, and filler decease. And this is where you disappear, is where you're filtered into a future, bending slantwise and able to make food from light, but doubtfully capable of feeling blue. Is sound my blue culpability now? Song, sung, sang, sing, formed from fringes, my hair or the passion vine. Twiddling our thumbs, hey, hey, all right, hey, hey. Winter is coming and fall first. The plant life measures longer and shorter. Harvesting, we catch the sunrise, ask whose domesticity the sun has. This many years coming down each night, children anchored in its arms, facing the pregnant datura. I am full, full, are you ready, are you ready? Hey, old rock steady. Constant as a puncha, more seasoned than a sycamore, I am no more surprised than the grass raising its back. and the funny days are upon us, and we're entertained by walking, messing it all up. When I say go, you say animal. Go. One uses seaweed to make her nest on land. Another whistles to match the hemisphere. Watch that correspondence. Nothing adds up except piles of seeing and hearing these orders. I get up with the sun now to take a peek. Spores in the skies, my memorabilia, whose purpose, having fled, be the skies falling anew. And then down, don't forget, into the sweet, sweet biomes, to live, to make some background. And my cheek rolls down against the quiet, busy waters working the veins. So that's my homesickness poem. So I'll read a few more that are more recent. So I've been living in Connecticut the last few years, and it doesn't have like the sort of, where I live anyway, it doesn't have like the glorious Bay Area sort of landscape to distract me from my homesickness. So I feel sort of like lost in this forest there, and still sort of grappling with the same issues of being away. So many of the poems I've been writing recently kind of come from this weird sort of displacement. Also I have twins who are 18 months old and then a 4-year-old daughter. And so the last few years, I also just feel sort of displaced from my whole, like, being in a different way, just from, like, having, like, I feel like I'm rocking up here because I'm used to having babies on. Like, I'm just always sort of doing this now. And so it feels strange, actually, like, not to have them, like, on me right now. So you'll probably see me rocking. But anyway, there's a little of all that in these. And most of these come from a group of poems that I've been writing that's, right now it's titled Chicories. And so I don't know if you're familiar with what chicories are, but the chicory is this little blue wildflower that grows all over North America. And so it seems sort of an interesting constant for me that everywhere I've lived, everywhere I go in North America, there's chicories. And it's not like a giant flowering bush, it's like kind of this weird, ugly, spindly, weed-looking thing that's kind of tall and skinny, and then it has these like bright, like periwinkle blue little bursts. So you have all, I'm sure, seen it at some point in time, but it's something that lives here, and it's also been everywhere that I've been. I come across it. How could I be the same when I've been making people become like this? What about how that old sky needed the old sun? What about the pool under the sky? What about the degrees of building heat? What escaped from that star? How I got made. It was never the same sun. Split time and animal, middle space, keep away. We're disoriented tigers, swimming as last resort, to be the opposite of grounded in anything. Knotted to the earth and flown over, sewn, severed, cemented and hewn, loyal, There is only loving and then finding or not response. There is give where there is a void. There is caution in this wind. There comes a moment when there is too long a phrase, and I hate all the serious. The constellations were just supposed to be unstoried. Poor things. At the break, wandering Catholic, wandering faker, all the coarseness of synonyms, so actually unlikely, all the disparate faces from memory, traveling the nerves, ends of that earth. The easy routes were sacrificed in the 70s, like symbolism, Paisley, value, eyesight, character of openness, up for sport, hillside, reeling. At the Vantage, everything seems original, all alone, unkempt. So I have to look at the time. I never know how long I'm reading for. All right. Create memories, says the tagline, or savor the moments they release us. I didn't expect to see time again or its aura. We were swimming, we were leaving in that green water. We were ailing, we were gone from ourselves on that cold table. And when we woke, we sweated out until we worked dry, and time left us to tend its other bodies, not suspended, but hung. We lived fashioned from our own hide. When what I don't think of thinks of me, it has a wilder call. Scape as from cape, making off with only one's naked, running self. and still not know if I choose or just pretend to. Afterward, the ground more slippery than I remembered. Midwinter thaw, writing sideways, looking around the work, my haunting, my recipes, some kids, everything wrapping around everything else, like a birthday made out of days in waiting. Living from boxes, our house without real rooms, but accoutrements, and a kid surfacing from the night, lit just enough by the faraway star, undoubtedly trying to do more than I am, though inside of me there is the faraway too, doing its own thing, but I wonder if it is even flowery. I may actually just unravel at the center. Perhaps your own life story could put me back together again. I'll have to think about your singular person. But then you have your intersections too, and all these people you have been. It makes me tired, this hummed imagining. I feel stronger when I just lie there, repeated, mantra, Mama, I don't know how to help anyone. Even this body was supposed. Even the busy bee is vector, a thing remembered. Okay. This one's called Signal. The signal that you're done in the early morning cuckoo. I am a kinder regime than I ever dreamed. Softer, tiny fibers in the sown day ply me across lifelines. The child's hug that collapses the run, breathless other, better part of me. Blood motes transverse everything, God heart, animal mind. Sometimes I don't know I'm bleeding, other times I just think so, like the bird always hearing its wing beat. And this last one I wrote for my daughter, who's not here because we just flew across the country, and she'd be like a total mess if she was here. but I wrote this for her when last year she was I was really fascinated by her sense of how, like, she has such imagination, right, like children do, but I was fascinated by how, like, the real and the imagined were, like, sort of on the same plane for her. And we would talk, it really hit me when we were looking at, we have this little pencil sharpener that's in the shape of a globe, right? And she had just learned what maps were and like how to identify where we live on a map. But we talk about Texas all the time at home, so she'd be like pointing to Connecticut and be like, Texas! But we were also, she was watching like nature shows about the ocean with us, even though she hadn't been out, like, of course, on the open ocean, right? So she was learning about whales and water, and then we would look at the globe and she'd be like, that's the ocean, the blue part. But the way she would talk about it was so interesting because she also went swimming at the pool, and so we'd talk about water, and it was just, this poem just kind of came out of this time of talking to her about conceptual things, right? And for her, they were all sort of tactile, like this globe, this pencil sharpener is like where we live, like we're in there somewhere, you know? And she'd be like, that's where the whales, there's a whale in there right now, like looking at the water. Anyway, the poem is called Slave to the Real.
Slave to what?
Slave to the Real. Slave to the Real, for Cora. When there's a little mind inside the larger, scaled to appropriate size of the person inside of you, who is a slave to whom? Of the bright world's traps, out come the beacons. Reach only with your arms. Love is cast like the dirt displaced by grave. This tchotchke is the same as your flesh. This is what she tells us. In the kitchen church. The smaller the replica, more correct. Then its largeness wrong. So then that ocean on the globe, merciless. To be the only swimmer in the constant water. Always already made, never anything else. Thank you.